Hi everyone, this is Laura Patillo, and I would like to share with you a bit of my dissertation proposal, and then you will see at the end of this footage, it is what the dissertation proposal, actually what it was live on April 29th. So let's get started. This is my dissertation proposal, Equity in Kindergarten Readiness, the Effects of Literacy Instruction in Gentrified Urban Preschools. My committee members are Dr. Carrie Rizzuto, who is the chair, Dr. John Henning, who is the Dean of the School of Education at Monmouth University, and Dr. Lauren Jackson, who is the principal of Thurgood Marshall, where the case study will take place. Thank you so much to each of you. You've helped me in different ways. Without your help, I wouldn't be here. I'd like to start with a brief introduction about housing insecurity and poverty. Financial difficulties are one of life's most unpredictable situations. I think we can all agree with that. Landlords may forcibly remove a tenant who is unable to pay the rent, and that's an act called eviction. Eviction's been a problem and a causation for poverty since the Dickensian period, and some would argue that this housing insecurity from Dickens's time is being continued through gentrification today. So what is gentrification? Gentrification is the phenomena of lower socioeconomic residents leaving their neighborhoods due to raising housing expenses. This has dangerous consequences. It's connected to homelessness and housing insecurity. Experiences of children in this homelessness include unstable neighborhoods, overcrowding, the nightmare of living on the streets, and there's even instances of a lot of terrible different things that at the time I gave this dissertation, I could not mention aloud because I'm in my preschool classroom, as you'll see at the end of this video. So you can read the terrible things that happened, but I couldn't say it out loud. So substantial research shows that children who are exposed to the intersectionality of adverse childhood experiences like poverty and violence, they're actually at risk for having lower literacy rates. And the chart to the right shows some of the data on that about recognizing letters and counting and writing their name and reading in a book. There's a difference in the scores of children who live below the poverty threshold. So the first 3 points that I made are connecting the importance of gentrification to home literacy issues, like all the points I'm trying to make in chapter 1. And then my problem statement, or really the problem underlying the study, is that parental stress from being overworked, in addition to being absent from child rearing, leads in little to no home literacy instruction or exposure. So why is kindergarten readiness important? I mean, how is this even an equity issue? Kindergarten readiness is the preschooler's knowledge which prepares them to learn in kindergarten. Pretty self-explanatory. It includes being able to count to 20 and knowing almost all your English letters and sounds. And without this, children are going to have some difficulty in kindergarten because now they learn sight words, basic addition, subtraction, etc. Equality is the assumption that everyone benefits from the same supports, but equity is when everyone gets the supports they need. That's what's behind affirmative action. So kindergarten readiness for children in gentrified areas can be considered an equity issue because of the adversity they face. It hinders their access to quality literacy interactions. And look, the UNICEF and the ACLU both say all children deserve a quality education. So therefore, don't all children deserve an equitable means of learning these pre-K literacy skills, regardless of their race, religion, or financial background? See, I believe universal pre-K are going to start conversations and theories on this topic, and I'm really glad this dissertation is going to be part of that conversation and ahead of it even before it starts. So the purpose of the study is to assess if a literacy curriculum with direct instruction improves the letter knowledge of preschoolers from urban, adverse, and gentrified environments. The central research questions are: how effective is Big Day Pre-K direct instruction-based literacy curriculum for kindergarten readiness of urban preschoolers? And that curriculum that I mentioned, Big Day Pre-K, we're going to get more in depth into that, and that's what's used in Asbury Park. Then the other 2 questions are: what are the thoughts of the teachers on this curriculum and the direct instruction-based approach? And how do the parents of the children in the curriculum notice their child using letter knowledge at home? And here are the 6 points from the literature review, and we're going to jump right into that. So let's talk about the home life, gentrification, and parenting struggles. As gentrification raised housing costs and the housing costs have raised the stress levels of urban families, there's been a lot of studies on how they communicate at home when they're under this duress. So hierarchical linear modeling analyses revealed that family reframing interacted with lower positive communication skills. So that means passive appraisal was linked to worse functioning. So for the second point, the good news is that to counteract these issues, early childhood teachers can provide what some parents are not able to. They can help children meet the goals of pre-beginning readers. And if you think, hey, how are those connected? I apologize, I'm going to go back 1 sentence. Quality parent-child interactions are directly connected to language and literacy skills for children. That's what's really crucial to understand. The way a parent talks to their child, the amount of vocabulary used, the phrasing of the sentence, the structure of their sentences, what they're talking about, That's parent-child bonding time, and it is a foundation for learning how to read and for appreciating reading in general. And they are connected. So the thing is that getting to the fourth point you see on your screen, when children learn the sounds of the English language, like the phonemes, in case anyone asks me, perceptually distinct units of sound and language, their symbols, how to blend, etc. Those skills make up for what's lacking at home. Okay. So now, how do teachers teach this? Well, you can use direct instruction. Direct instruction is the research-based method of using materials to directly share information with students. It's like lecturing, but it uses props and different activities to work problems out together. Now, the only issue is that it's against developmentally appropriate practice, or some people think it is. And this is a controversy. I had to bring it up in chapter 2 for the sake of this dissertation. Developmentally appropriate practice in early childhood programs lists developmentally appropriate practices that ensure children learn in appropriate ways, like Vygotsky, learning through play. Okay, that's developmentally appropriate. Some people believe direct instruction is not. It's not like play. It forces to do something they may refuse to do, and you're making them do it anyway, which is against best practice. But let's talk about this for a minute. Before you go to kindergarten, you need a lot of the skills you see on the screen. Reading and letter familiarity, classroom self-help skills, social emotional skills. So these skills are necessary prerequisites because not all learning in kindergarten takes place through play, but through teacher direction or direct instruction. So here's an example for you. Would you want a child to use scissors and learn how to use scissors through play? Here, Bob, go take these scissors. Go learn how to cut. Go play with scissors. I mean, maybe not. But here's the good news. Direct instruction is important according to NACE, the National Association for the Education of Young Children. They actually made a statement, and they believe children need both because both, in different circumstances, help children learn through exploration, experimentation, and discovery. So some people think that there's still a debate about this, and some people think that NACE basically closed the book on it. But this had to be brought up in chapter 2 because it's a really important discussion in early childhood. So now let's talk about some learning theories and some different methods of how children learn letters in general. Like, how does this work? Well, there's Fritz stage model literacy theory. And in the first stage, it's, well, what this means is that you learn how to read in different letters based on how you develop and your age and your experiences. So for example, the first step is the logographic stage. It's distinguished by identification of symbols, pictures, words. Think of the M, the big M, arches in the sky, the logo for McDonald's. Young children see that, they know it's M, they know it stands for McDonald's, and they make that association when they're very young, like logo is in the term logographic. So then there's two different pacing styles. This is getting at the second area at the bottom. You could do fast, multiple letters at once, dump out the bucket of magnet letters and let's play, let's discover what the letters are. Or you could do slow, one letter at the week, we're gonna write that letter on the board, we're all gonna discuss it, clap words that start with it, etc. Fast is really actually very beneficial for children who start school with less knowledge. However, and this is the final point in the bottom, not developmentally appropriate for children that suffer from absenteeism and who just aren't present in school very often. They'll miss quite a lot of information. So if you do a slower letter of the week, at least they're getting the information and they're not missing out on anything. Okay, so now I would like to talk about this literacy curriculum that uses direct instruction that is used in Asbury Park right now, Big Day Pre-K. Okay, the gains are really significant. In New Haven, Connecticut, when they did a quantitative case study on this, letter recognition rose from 11% to 56%. Letter sounds increased from 57 to 72%. And then in Starksville in Texas, alphabet knowledge, like understanding letters of the alphabet, went from 0 to 59%. Those are some pretty amazing set of the numbers there. I think everyone would love those gains in their preschool programs. Okay, so now chapter 3, the methodology. I just want to point out, and I did this live when I did the dissertation proposal in case I was asked. You never know if you're going to be asked stuff. I really wanted to point out this is qualitative research in my study, not quantitative, and action research. And I wanted to explain why. Qualitative research is the research which analyzes data from direct fieldwork, observations, in-depth open-ended interviews, and written documents. Qualitative research engages in naturalistic inquiry, real-world settings, and it generates rich narrative descriptions. Okay, that's the key right there. Young children are storytellers. They tell stories. They love to use their imagination. And if I did quantitative study on this, I'd use SPSS, and I had a different category and data that I got on it, category, data that I got on it. I mean, I would be inputting so many different observations on children. Case number 15873 put a magnet letter S on their nose, and then another child made a letter T out of Legos. There would be so many different instances of children showing letter mastery. It wouldn't really generate too much of a percentage at the end of the day. What's more interesting and unique and what's more effective is to tell the stories of how these children uniquely talk about letters in the classroom. That's why qualitative is more appropriate. And then this also qualifies as action research, because it's research that refers to the process and identifying issues relevant to teaching or social situations. So this qualifies as action research. The setting will be in 2 classrooms at Thurgood Marsh Elementary School and the Asbury Park School District, and this area qualifies as a gentrified urban setting. The participants will be 12 children, ages 4 to 5, in 2 separate pre-kindergarten classrooms, and they will be observed for qualitative data collection. Parents will be asked for permission for observation. The participants are 2 parents of children involved in the case study. They're going to complete semi-structured interviews. Participant observers are 2 teachers in the kindergarten classrooms of the children involved in the case study. They complete semi-structured interview. So the phases are 4 weeks of observations of children using letter knowledge, like that picture you see right there. That picture goes back about 4 years or so, and it's just the hand, so it's anonymous. That is a child who chose naturally during choice time or free play to write out all the letters of the alphabet. And so that's an example right there. Now, I wouldn't take in photos. You'll see in a minute how the data gets collected, but that's an example of a child naturally showing letter mastery, okay? And then semi-structured teacher interviews, semi-structured parent interviews. So now I'm getting to the part about music through phonemic awareness, and it's going to be virtual asynchronous sets of playlists, links, information about songs that support Big Day Pre-K's mini lessons about the sounds. And I can explain this a little slower because I'm filming this right now, but sometimes we have speech services come in for children, right? And they have these cards. So once there was a card for the eh sound, and it showed a picture of someone scratching. And I said, well, what does that mean? They said, oh, well, it's their itchy. And I thought, okay, that's wonderful. But what if like the parent speaks Spanish or the child doesn't know the word itchy? So how would they guess and relate the sound? Like maybe if I worked for 4 years in a language and speech pathologist office, I would know that, but I wouldn't really know that. But you would know through itsy bitsy spider. I would know that sound. So now the footage is going to pick up from what actually happened in the live dissertation. And you're going to notice that the quality is a little different because, again, huge thank you to David Manning, who was filming part of the dissertation process. And he was capturing it live as it was happening. So now you're going to see that footage from this point on, guys. Okay? We'll see you in a bit. Itsy bitsy spider for the sound. So that's what all of this is explaining. And I'm hoping that it enriches Big Day Pre-K's letter sound mini lessons. So now we're going to get to the data analysis. So what's happening is that simultaneously, the 2 teachers are going to observe the children demonstrating letter mastery, like what you saw in that little picture at Free Play. The observations are going to be tallied and grouped by type, and simultaneously, the teachers are going to document the type of letter they're teaching that week, what mini lesson it was, and we're going to tally the number of what we call letter exposures, like what letter they learned on the rug. Then this information is collected to draw a conclusion on the way children use letter knowledge freely during choice time and whether letter knowledge exposure in morning meeting had any impact. Here's an example, like showing you straight from the pictures. That's an example of letter P from Big Day Pre-K. If the teacher decided to teach about the letter P, like how to write it, and then later on in the day during choice time, a child naturally wanted to draw the letter P, we could make some inferences that maybe the morning meeting, learning how to write the letter P, had an impact for the child at play, what they chose to do. These are samples of the letter knowledge forms. When the teachers select all of these, and it could be printed and they could just do it really quickly while they're observing children. It doesn't have to be like on the laptop or computer away from children, but all of these inputs will come together to tell the story. So a total of 8 observations on 12 children, that makes 96 the maximum number of letter knowledge observations.
When it comes to the exposure forms, ideally we're looking for 20 of them, but if there's a fire drill or a special event and they skip it, I understand. So let's go about interviews for the data collection for interviews. Interview data will be collected to contribute to the construction of an explanatory grounded theory. So the grounded theory approach, just to touch on it, it's finding repeated themes by thoroughly reviewing the data, coding the emergent themes into keywords and phrases, grouping them into concepts, and then categorizing the concepts through relationship identification. Semi-structured interviews will be recorded using a voice recorder application. So the interviews are going to be less, semi-structured. That means they're less rigid than something that's structured. We can probe, amplify the responses. It has a really nice, easygoing feel, like a conversation, and I think that's more comfortable and appropriate for parents and teachers. Here are some of the sample questions that I will ask them. Does your child currently go to school would be a question for a parent, whereas asking more about where do you teach and how long you've been teaching preschool, that would be a type of question I'll ask the teacher. So this is just a nice flow chart of how coding works, and I'll be more descriptive in a bit. The raw data that goes into the transcribed interviews, like when they're typed, they go through deduce. We read through the data, generate codes and themes, and then interpret the meaning of those. And sometimes it's repeated to validate the accuracy of all that information. So we start with the measuring unit. And I know, I am preaching to the choir about this, but just so you know that I know. The measuring unit is the first form of the grouping. It's the literal answers to the questions. Condensation would be, if I were to ask a teacher, what's your assessment of this program? And they go, wow, it's really amazing. It's like an in-depth letter of the week system. It's got fun activities for kids. Then I would use condensing, and the condensed text would be amazing, in-depth letter of the week system, fun activities for kids. Kids seem to like it. It works well. The condensed text example about amazing, it works well, that could be placed under a code, program assessment, meaning a label that describes the unit. Multiple codes are grouped through related content or context. So maybe program assessment, quality of letter planning, lesson planning, all of that could be put into a category of teacher program review. Then we have themes, which is the fifth level of grouping that covers why, how, and what way, by what means types of questions, and then an overarching theme, and that's the final grouping. And that concludes the content analysis process. So here's an example of some of the overarching themes I would have, some of the categories, subcategories. It's becoming more and more and more specific. And I think once the interviews were broken down into overarching themes or the code, categories, subcategories, the data could be organized into a chart like this. And then we would be able to transcribe the interviews. So just to wrap it up, looking ahead, I would like to use triangulation, which is where I use multiple methods of the data sources, like the observations and the different interviews, to develop a comprehensive understanding of phenomena. And the phenomena really is that children are learning letters in these urban preschools, and how that process works, or details about that process. And thank you so much. That's my presentation. That's it. 14 minutes.
That was a great presentation, Laura. I can see how much detail you put into it. I love the premise of, Lyndon Johnson's premise that he began, the war on poverty of children, who were the Head Start idea, actually, of giving children what they're not getting at home, so they're on par with middle-class children when they get to kindergarten, and all the information you put in about, what's happening to neighborhoods that used to be considered less desirable, and now they're becoming gentrified, and how that affects children. That was really, we kind of know about it, but your in-depth analysis of it was fascinating, and all the detail you put in about, the way you're going to code, and, the different ways of big day pre-K, which I don't think a lot of early childhood educators know about. I was just on a Zoom call last night with one of my early childhood classes on a advanced literacy instruction, and one of their main complaints about tools of the mind and creative curriculum, which are two of the main preschool curriculums, is that they don't teach direct knowledge of alphabet knowledge or alphabetic principle. So, which is a huge, negative.
Yes.
I mean,
yes,
and problem. I mean, I don't want to get into a big early childhood thing with you.
Right. I have some interesting insight about that, because I called Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. I called HMH at the beginning of this, and I said, because what they're actually doing is they're starting an end of life process. I think it's already done for Big Day Pre-K. However, with the news of universal pre-K starting, I think HMH wants to stay in the early childhood curriculum game, if you'd call it that, like the business. So what they're doing is they're actually going to update it. They're going to make it newer. They're going to have a different version. But any data and anything I think I can find in a case study on it, I think it'd be useful to them. So
I think it'd be beyond useful.
Yeah.
And I think you would make an excellent ambassador for it, a good PD person for it, because you understand it, the nuts and bolts of it. You did a really beautiful job. And I know how many iterations of this dissertation you've written. And it was really great.
Thank you so much.
I just want to ask you about the I know you spoke briefly about the triangulation of the data. What about, because there's so many groups going on, right? You've got the teachers, you've got the students, and you've got the parents, right? So that seems like a lot of moving parts. So are you going to be the one coding everything and then triangulating everything yourself? How is that going to work? For reliability purposes of working with a second. I think you might need like a second person for inter-rater reliability. I think that might help you, because there's so much going on in this, and I'm not saying that that's not good, because you're really getting a portrait of how the letter knowledge affects the children, what the teacher's idea of it, and that's really, to me, the most important, that they see how it works, and then the parents, because we need to reach out to the parents and let them see, what should be going on, so they can echo our teaching at home. But that's a lot of data sets that you're dealing with. So I love how what triangulation is and how important it is for reliability. But just a small note that I think you need inter-rater reliability. So, I'm up for the job. I'm volunteering. I'm not throwing you out to the lions.
Sure. And
I also think that you should publish this when you're done. This is a very publishable.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah,
article.
Absolutely.
Okay, because you did a lot of work, and I think this is so timely because of all the preschool teachers complaining about lack of letter knowledge in their programs. So thank you, Laura, for this wonderful.
Thank you.
This wonderful experience you provided us with today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Laura, I was wondering, could you talk a little bit more about how the observations will be done and recorded, and what they'll be looking for, and how long they are?
Sure. So the observations happen during a time called choice time. Choice time is actually happening right now. The echoes, I have earbuds in, but if you happen to hear any children at free play, that is what's happening right now. The children choose whatever they would like to play with, and they're always observed. They're always observed even for safety purposes. They're always observed. And as the teachers observe the students, if they mention a letter, if they bring up a letter, it could be the sound of the letter, it could be they visually identified it, it could be that they chose to write it down. All of the circumstances of how they did this particular act or this particular letter mastery example, right? the teachers could have a quick clipboard by them, which is the double-sided printed Google form, or it could just be all the pages of the Google form right there, and they just check the boxes. Now, they don't write the child's name specifically. We actually don't want that, no identifiers, because when the feedback I got from the IRB, they don't want any identifiers. But they just check off exactly what they see, what the child did, where the child was. And then this information, I think, will be given to Lauren Jackson, who will return it to me, just for the ease of travel and process. And because, I mean, I could go over there to Thurgood Marshall, but I just think that makes it easier. So does that answer the question, or did you want more information about like the Google form?
Let me add a supplemental piece to that. How will you know, in your mind, what will determine whether the direct instruction curriculum is effective? What's going to say to you, okay, I've looked at these observations, and based on these observations, I know the curriculum is effective?
If a majority of the anecdotes and the observations are from letters that correspond to the letter taught that morning or during that week, then I could make an inference that the lesson taught that morning had an impact, because the letter the child decided randomly or from their own will, just what they wanted to do, that the letter they decided to write about, to discuss, was what they were exposed to through direct instruction that very morning. So the timing of it, the fact that the teacher taught it, there's just too many factors there to be a coincidence. And especially if I saw that during maybe 3 out of the 4 weeks, or even 2 out of the 4 weeks, I think it would make a pretty interesting point that the exposure of the letter at the morning meeting influenced the child's decision, what letter they wanted to point out, what letter they decided to either write about or see or talk about with a friend.
Great. I have one more question that just occurred to me. The parents, are they going to be from an impoverished family, or are they going to be like lower SES or not? Just,
it's interesting you say that. I believe in order to attend a preschool in Asbury Park, you simply have to have proof of residency, right? So you have to have a proof, like a bill and a few things from your address and a few things from your home. But depending on the preschool program that parents attend, it means that they actually live in a certain neighborhood and in a certain area. And what we see, because where I'm currently at, Alphabet's Preschool Center, we're a block away from Thurgood Marshall. And so many of the parents and the children who are in those preschool classrooms, they are from local apartments and apartment complexes, which I do believe qualify as putting them at lower SES.
Then I have just one more. If that is the case, what is your expectations from the parent interviews? Do you think they will be very good observers of their child and their literacy skills, or what are your thoughts on that? I am really curious. What kind of information are you expecting to get from them?
That's such a great question, because we just finished parent-teacher conferences, and I've been hearing all sorts of different experiences of some families. It's really the expression, the widow's mite. Like some families, it's amazing that they don't have much, and they came into doing conferences with us. One family member couldn't pay their phone bill, and so they used free Wi-Fi, and we had a Zoom meeting in the conference, and the parent was still trying very, very hard to talk about letters and to have home literacy interactions with their child, even though they're in pretty dire straits. So what I'm curious to see is the tenacity and the efforts that parents are making. And I can't predict what kind of efforts those parents are making, but I'm really interested to see that. And I'm really interested to see, their creativity. Like sometimes to teach, I know this is not the topic at hand, isn't math, but numbers. Sometimes parents come up with different locks on their phone, and they let the child just try to find the numbers and unlock the phone through like identifying the visual number at hand. So I have a bit of an idea that I believe the parents will be telling me stories about how they're trying to teach letters at home or they work with a teacher. And due to the timing of it, if this takes place in the late, like mid-May to June or over the summer, I think the parent and teacher will have a pretty good rapport at that point where the parents will be telling me how they work with the teachers as partners and make a good homeschool connection about teaching letters and letter knowledge. And that's even great to hear too. Like everything's a win-win that I'll hear, I'll be able to take in, and I'll be able to come up with a bigger picture, a bigger story from.
Great. Thanks, Laura. Thanks. Well done.
Hi, Laura. First, I just want to say you're inspiring me listening to this because this is kind of the first time in my professional career that a lot of different components have merged for me. So the topic of your study is so important because my own dissertation at Monmouth was on the implementation of the Big Day Pre-K program and its impact.
I know.
So as the former supervisor that brought that in and studied it as a doctoral student who worked with you as one of my teachers doing the program, I just think it's so amazing that this has kind of taken on a life to really look at foundational literacy, which I know we both share a passion for. And now as the principal of Thurgood, which ironically happened when this was already underway for you, it's just another hat to add to it. So I'm so excited for this and to be a part of this and a committee member. I do have a few questions. I think they're fairly going to be easy for you, but just to get some more specifics that I understand the dynamics of the program itself on the preschool side and the Big Day side. Why did you choose a participant size of 12 based on 2 classes?
So there are 6 children per class that will be observed because as a preschool teacher, I understand what it's like watching. I mean, here in Alphabets, a full class is 15 enrolled. And I know that it's difficult, even for safety reasons and ratio reasons, to take in letter data on a lot of children. And the mindset would be, it wouldn't be in an appropriate place for the teacher because since we take in data anyway for the creative curriculum, there are moments when the teacher is at play with the child. There's moments when a teacher does small group. There's a moment when a teacher is simply taking a child to the bathroom. So we can't observe for the full hour all the children doing all letter knowledge because it's just not feasible. It's really not feasible for the teacher.
Okay, and then off of that, the 4 weeks duration of the study itself, did you consider aligning it with 6 weeks to align with the creative curriculum units of study, or was 4 weeks specific to the purpose of, your goals of the anticipation for the study?
4 weeks I wanted to do because I was thinking of what was feasible and what was appropriate to ask of teachers. I know that there's a lot being asked of teachers these days, especially when we have like so many responsibilities. There's data that we've taken anyway for creative curriculum for all sorts of things. And I was really trying to keep in mind what would be appropriate to ask of them and to not have it continue through the course of necessarily a whole study, but just a month. I was thinking just 4 weeks because it's like a month's worth.
Okay, and just one more question, more logistical. Have you taken into consideration procuring a translator for your parent interviews given the population that Thurgood Marshall primarily services in our preschool program?
I have, well, what's interesting is that I guess I was under the assumption that a parent who would willingly want to volunteer would be English speaking, but that's an excellent point. And so I would like to ask if maybe the teacher is bilingual, if the teacher would want to sit in on the interview, or if any resources. I mean, we have a bilingual staff member here, but I wouldn't want to ask her or mix staff from 2 different schools together. So I would appreciate if there would be like a para or anyone who would be willing to volunteer or be involved to be a translator. I think that would be excellent. I think it's a really good point.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How you doing, Dr. George?
Good. I was just waiting for the appropriate time to say, great presentation, and your answers to follow questions really show your expertise. And I concur with Dr. Jackson that this is really exciting, important work, and Dr. Rizzuto and everyone else. So I'm just happy to be here and learning from you right now. Great job.
Thank you so much. Oh, Dr. Jackson, guess what? So they threw me a surprise Star Wars birthday party at noon. And that was why there were all sorts of like mixed signals. And so, yeah, I'm going to send you some pictures later.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that was the reason why. I'm glad for that.
Yes. Yeah, I got a lot of Baby Yoda stuff in the staff room. I got to take at the end of the day. So, yeah.
That's really nice. So is today your birthday?
Sunday.
Oh, happy birthday on Sunday.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So are we ready to go for the committee to go into the breakout room? So we have Dean Henning, Dr. Carly Rizzuto. Oh, let me see who I have in here. And then Lauren Jackson, Dr. Jackson, right? Okay, I'm going to open the room now, and we'll see you when you're done deliberating. And I'm gonna run off, but Dr. George, I'm gonna make you the host.
Okay, great.
Laura, very nice job. Very, very
Thank you
nice
so much.
job.
Thank you. So, David Manning is a very good family friend, and I was trying to offer the link to like some family members, and so he's taking in probably like sharing this with my mom. So, hi.
Absolutely, hi Laura. Really great.
Hi. How you doing?
Doing great. I'm trying to record. I'm hoping it'll come out. I just came off a 4.5 hour conference just prior to your dissertation.
Oh, jeez.
So I missed the very first few minutes.
Oh, we were just saying hi.
Okay.
You were just saying hi, so it's fine. It's fine. I would love to, while we got a couple minutes, because I'm not going to say any names or identifiers for anybody. Oh my gosh, I have to stand. But this is my classroom.
Oh, wow.
And this is an example of Big Day Pre-K right here. So this is the letter of the week. And we practiced how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. And my friends were saying they were saying that poem. So, yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and one other thing I could give you a quick tour of. All right, hold on one sec. It's just a couple more minutes. So here, I want to show you guys. This is our pet gecko. Let's see where Ziggy is. It'd be so funny if everyone comes up. There he is. Can you see Ziggy?
Ziggy.
Can you see his tail?
Yep.
And he eats live crickets, and actually feed him crickets and worms and all sorts of stuff. And the kids love seeing him eat. It would be really funny to make him eat for you guys, but. Sorry, I just want to get up and walk around because I was sitting in like a little kid chair. Oh. You doing good? Yeah? I'd show you my young friends, but I don't think I should. Yes. They're my teachers. Yeah, I'm talking to my teacher. You drawing a picture? And you were still sleepy? They woke up from nap, so they had nap, And, oh, he's coming out. Wait, look. Can you see him?
Oh, yeah.
Ziggy, look.
There he is.
Hey, Ziggy.
There he is. Ziggy. He crawls on my hand and he crawls on my arm. He's so cool. I would have never in a million years imagined that I would have liked a pet gecko, but the kids love him, and he crawls around and he sheds his skin. Oh, right, you want to come out? And Tegan puts his hand on the glass. Hey, Ziggy, you want to come out? And he plays in this little tube. So you guys can enjoy the Ziggy cam for a minute. He's coming out. Yeah, I gotta feed him today. All right, Ziggy, I gotta feed you today. Yeah. So what's on your agenda, Doc? Yes.
Laura Loves Bach is your right? Because I'm going to send out your a tweet
Like
when
a
we're
tweet?
done.
Yeah.
If you're okay with that.
Absolutely. That would be great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I came up with it when I had no idea I was going into education. I was just, violin playing all day long. And it stuck. It definitely stuck. I'm just sort of half monitoring the room, half hanging out with you guys. And I have a friend who's doing art right next to me, but you can't see him. Hey, Zoe, or Miss Pat, can you grab my smock? I'll put my smock back on. Or can Carrie get it? I'm just See, here's alphabet smock. And Dr. George, we have class tomorrow, right?
Yes, it won't be long though.
It won't be long.
It's the last one.
Hi.
Hi.
I was giving a tour of my room. I was showing them Ziggy the gecko. I can show you guys that too.
Well, I think the first thing we should do is say congratulations on passing your proposal.
Thank you.
You did a fabulous job. We do have one note from Dr. Jackson. It's very minor. Dr. Jackson, would you like to explain it?
Sure. So, Laura, at the inception of your study, I was the supervisor of the early childhood program. So being that person to collect the data for you was a little bit more permissible and flexible at that time. But now, since I have taken on the principal position of the school the study is being done in, we're going to work together to team you up with another individual on the early childhood team that could take that place of being data collector, just to, avoid any discrepancies with the IRB process and the data collection process and maintain the integrity of your study.
Sure. Yeah, the IRB did come back to me with a few changes, and that's perfect timing because I was just making all those changes, finishing them up, and maybe like Leanne, would Leanne be more appropriate than the new supervisor?
I believe because she's an administrator as well, and it's involving teachers directly. It would probably, you would really need to discuss with maybe Shannon, the other master teacher, or a float teacher here who are in a non-administrative capacity, because even through my own study, I wasn't allowed to touch any data. It had to float through third party. It had to be anonymous recordings with their voices need to be altered and everything to protect the participants. And they would also need to complete the appropriate online training as well. So that would be something that we could all work together to support you through the university with getting them to do.
Okay, sure, yeah. And we both know this is not a secret that the master teachers help us out at Alphabets too. So I know them. I love Tiffany. I love Shannon. And that would be great to work with them. So looking forward to it.
And when is your study planning to take place?
I really wanted to start it as soon as the IRB approval kicked in. So if there is a summer program,
There is.
I believe, yeah. So maybe but I don't know if Big Day Pre-K is taught at morning sessions during the summer. That's the only thing.
Well, you have the right person on the call and on the team
Okay.
to make that happen.
Okay.
But
Perfect.
Tiffany is on maternity leave, so
Right.
it will more than likely have to be Shannon, but she does not work in the summer, so we're going to have to really talk about that because she's a 10-month employee.
Okay.
So
Well, I'm sure you guys can work that out. And you're so lucky to have the support of somebody as wonderful as Dr. Lauren, who really wants to help you work this out. So we owe a great debt of
Yes.
gratitude to you, Dr. Lauren, Dr. Jackson. I have known, and I love to say this, Dr. Henning, I have known Lauren since she was 18, 19 years old in my undergraduate classes. And it always is, if you want to feel old, watch one of your undergraduate students become a principal with a doctorate.
and I'm teaching one of the courses at Monmouth
And
that you
she's an
taught me as an
adjunct.
undergrad.
Yes.
Amazing.
So, I well up with tears at one point, and then I go, oh my God, it's time to put me in the nursing home.
No.
Dr. Rizzuto, that shouldn't make you feel old. You're much younger than me. When you get the children of your former students, then you can feel old. So you got a ways to go yet.
No,
You know?
when I taught in Brooklyn, I have the students of my,
Oh, you
believe
did?
me, I've had those experiences too.
Okay.
And I'm 56, so I don't think I'm way older than you, Mr. Bill George, Dr. Bill George. So
No, I was saying I'm way older than you, not you're way older than me. I was saying.
okay, but whatever. I feel 92, so it doesn't matter. COVID keeps on giving and giving. People, do not get COVID. Don't believe anything. Keep your masks on plane. Don't get COVID.
Yeah, I just took it off for this, but usually I wear white
Please.
KN95.
It won't go. It's punishing me. The day Murphy said take your mask off in school, the next day my 8th grader came home with COVID. She was fine in a week. My husband was fine in a week, and I can't get rid of it.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I'm not saying woe is me. I'm just saying, it can be a real pain in the neck. So anyway, but be safe because I know Lauren's getting married.
Yeah,
and
congratulations.
Congratulations, lady, and and my
Dr.
darling
Rizzuto,
Laura's
you
finishing
just
up
turned
her
the- you just flipped the-
dissertation, and
Dr. Rizzuto, you just flipped the script on me because you have an 8th grader, and I remember as your undergrad student when you were looking for preschools in the area for that 8th grader. So there we go.
oh, and I have to just say one proud thing. My Emma, who is a freshman in Monmouth, just presented with Dr. Raj and some graduate students at the speech pathology presentation yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations. Well done.
And she did a really good job. And she was so nervous, but
Congrats.
yeah. It was on the Monmouth Education website on Instagram if you want to look at it.
I saw it. I saw that.
The little one, the girl who looks little is Emma. So that, it's kind of hard when they get older, but when they find their niche, because she started when she was little, so it's like she wants to help children who are stutter when they're. Well, I'm sorry, this is so inappropriate, but anyway, it's because I'm with people I love and I want to talk to, and I've been in the house. They're not letting me out of the house again. So anyway, I love you guys. I'm so happy for you, Laura.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
You're so, and Laura is like a master music teacher. She's changing the world in so many ways by teaching children to play violin and other instruments, and she's just one of my favorite people in the whole world. So I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank you.
we're going to finish this up, baby, okay?
Yep. Oh,
Gonna
absolutely.
finish this up.
I'm excited.
Full
I'm
speed
excited.
ahead, okay?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations,
for being here.
Laura.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everyone. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Yeah,
Have a
enjoy
good
your
weekend.
weekend.
Bye. Congrats, Laura.
Bye. Thank you for coming, Mr. Manning.
My pleasure. It was an honor to be here with Laura. Love Laura. Love her mom. The whole family.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.